Media reports say President Xi Jinping will attend a symposium to support China's private enterprises. The government is making space oil illegal. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Reuters reported that President Xi Jinping will host a symposium and meet with the country's tech company leaders. They include Alibaba's Jack Ma and the executives of Tencent, Xiaomi, and Huawei. As trade tensions flare between China and the U.S. over the past months, Reuters cited multiple sources that President Xi Jinping is set to chair a symposium next Monday that aims to boost private sector sentiment. The country's business leaders are slated to attend. Xi is expected to encourage them to expand their business domestically and internationally amidst an intensifying Sino-U.S. tech war. Many attendees will hail from the tech sector. They include Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma, who has been long out of the media limelight, Pony Ma, the CEO of tech juggernaut Tencent, Lei Jun, the chief executive of Xiaomi, and an executive from Huawei Technologies. Wang Xingxing, the founder of robotics company Yushu Technology, is on the invitation list as well. Yushu is dubbed one of the 6 little dragons of Hangzhou, and its humanoid robots performed alongside a troupe of human dancers at CCTV's Spring Festival Gala this year. The last time Xi personally hosted a symposium for private enterprises was back in November 2018. That was amid rumors of the advance of the state and retreat of the private sector. At the time, Xi stressed the important position and function of the country's private economy. He said he will unwaveringly support that. Buoyed by the news, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index closed the week up 805 points. Shares of Tencent and Xiaomi both rallied more than 7%. Macau's chief executive Sam Ho-fai led a delegation to visit Hong Kong and met with Chief Executive John Lee at Government House. The trip marks Sam's first visit to Hong Kong since taking office. John Lee wrote that the two cities are like brothers with a lot of cultural and trade ties. The two city leaders were said to have exchanged views on industries including tech, finance, Chinese medicine, and cultural tourism. Also discussed were ways to contribute to the development of the Greater Bay Area. The government has stepped up efforts to combat the use of space oil by including its core ingredient of etomidate among its list of dangerous drugs. Possession of etomidate is now considered a criminal offense, with traffickers possibly facing a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Authorities believe the measures could serve as a deterrent and will continue to step up anti-space oil campaign. Timothy Lee tells us more.
In a bid to clamp down on the increased popularity of the drug known as space oil, the government has amended the Dangerous Drugs Ordinance to classify the drug's key ingredient of etomidate as a dangerous drug. Possession of the substance carries a maximum sentence of 7 years in prison and a fine of $1 million. Those found trafficking the drug could face life in prison and an additional $5 million fine. Commissioner for Narcotics, Cason Lee, stressed the increased penalties were meant to strengthen the deterrent effect, adding that authorities hope to raise young people's awareness about the drug's dangerous nature. According to the latest policy, the penalty for the consumption of space oil is equal to that of other drugs such as marijuana and cocaine. The Security Bureau's Narcotics Division noted some 300 people used space oil over the past year. 75% of them were below 21 years old. This, as long as UK, a member of the Youth Crime Prevention Center under the Hong Kong Federation of Youth Groups, raised concerns about the measure forcing users of the drug to go underground. He pointed out that in the past, most space oil users abused the drug publicly. Meanwhile, the police said they will strengthen intelligence collection operations, targeting websites and social media selling the drug. Since authorities adopted a rapid test kit for etomidate last month, 5 suspected space oil users have been arrested. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Hong Kong Tourism Board announced that 4.74 million travelers visited the city last month. That marked a single-month high post-pandemic. Holidaymakers from the Philippines and Indonesia rose more than 30%. With the Lunar New Year holidays and a string of large-scale events, January saw a 24% year-on-year surge in visitor number, with around 80% from the mainland. The city also welcomed 1.02 million non-mainland holidaymakers. The number topped 1 million for 3 consecutive months. But short-haul and long-haul markets saw increases of over 20% in visitor numbers. Foreign Minister Wang Yi met with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer during his diplomatic visit to Britain. Wang conveyed the Chinese leadership's warmest greetings to the British leader, adding that results have been achieved regarding the recent UK-China economic and financial dialogue. He noted the Labour Party's policies on China have led to a restoration of ties between the two countries and is beneficial to the people of both nations. Wang further said, as permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, China and Britain must strengthen strategic dialogue and increase mutual understanding. President Trump has promised to target countries which tax U.S. imports with a reciprocal tariff. His team are crunching the numbers and should calculate exact duties for each nation by April the 1st. It has raised fears of a global trade war. Some experts say Trump's plan could amount to a single biggest peacetime shock to global commerce. David Garrett reports.
With the stroke of a pen, another executive order, another that could have a big impact on China.
Well, that's a good one. I have decided, for purposes of fairness, that I will charge a reciprocal tariff, meaning whatever countries charge the United States of America, we will charge them. No more, no less. In other words, they charge us a tax or tariff, and we charge them the exact same tax or tariff. Very simple.
Essentially, this means if a nation taxes American exports that enter their country, America will put equal tariffs on imports from there. Trump doesn't want imports to be bigger than exports. He's promising to go country by country to reduce the deficit. There are fears it will destabilise world trade, but Trump is following through on a campaign pledge and is convinced it's the right move.
This is something that should have been done many years ago. China did it. I mean, China did it at a level that probably nobody's ever seen before. If you manufactured a car, you couldn't send it into China. The tariff was so high, so everybody went and they built in China. It was no big secret. So we're going to see, but it's going to mean tremendous amounts of jobs. And ultimately, prices will stay the same, go down.
America imports much more from China than it exports to China. Trump has already placed 25% tariffs on Chinese steel and aluminium. According to China's Iron and Steel Association, steel exports to the US make up less than 1% of China's total steel exports, but there is a fear other countries could follow the US's lead. The association's Deputy Secretary General, Zhang Longqiang, opposes tariffs. He says these actions are not conducive to healthy or fair trade. It is, in essence, protectionism. Raising tariffs will not protect the US steel industry. Instead, it may shield inefficiencies. China is just one country on the US list. The White House treats tariffs as a negotiating tool and to raise government revenues. Most analysts say if other countries retaliate to Trump's plans and tariffs stay in place, there will be a knock-on effect to consumers, meaning price rises and high inflation. David Garrett, TVB News.
And still ahead, Donald Trump says Ukraine will take part in peace talks with Russia. A look at how residents are preparing for Valentine's Day. And a lucky escape for a canoer in Chile after being eaten by a whale. Welcome back. The future of Ukraine will be the top item on the agenda at the Munich Security Conference, which starts today. This following a phone call this week between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin, when they pledged to work together to end the 3-year-old Russia-Ukraine conflict. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio will lead the U.S. delegation at the conference. Tracy Furness has more.
Donald Trump was non-committal on Wednesday about whether Ukraine would have a seat at the table in U.S. negotiations with Russia. But asked by reporters Thursday, Trump said they would.
Will Ukraine have a seat at that table for those negotiations?
Of course they would. I mean, they're part of it. We would have Ukraine, we would have Russia, and we'll have other people involved too. A lot of people, a lot of forks in the a lot of forks in this game. I'll tell you what, this is a very interesting situation, but the Ukraine war has to end. And it's a ridiculous war, and it has to end. We had a good talk with President Putin. I had a good talk with President Zelensky, very good talk. And somebody said, oh, I should have called Zelensky first. I don't think so. I mean, we have to find out whether or not Russia wants to make a deal. I know that Zelensky wants to make a deal because he told me that. But I now know that Russia wants to make a deal.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio are expected to meet Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday for talks that many hope will shed some light on Trump's ideas for a negotiated settlement to the war. Rubio was delayed, however, after his aircraft en route to Munich had to turn back to Washington due to a mechanical problem. Trump, who upended years of steadfast U.S. support for Ukraine during his call with Putin, has been vague about his specific intentions. He seemed to suggest that a deal will likely result in Ukraine being forced to cede territory that Russia has seized since it annexed Crimea in 2014. Trump did, however, say high-ranking officials, but not leaders, from all three countries will meet in Saudi Arabia next week to work towards ending the conflict. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Speaking to reporters in the Oval Office, U.S. President Donald Trump called for denuclearization talks with Russia and China.
At some point, when things settle down, I'm going to meet with China, and I'm going to meet with Russia, in particular, those two, and I'm going to say, there's no reason for us to be spending almost $1 trillion on military. There's no reason for you to be spending $400 billion. China's going to be at $400 billion. We're at $1 trillion. We're going to be at close to $1 trillion. And I'm going to say, we can settle this on, we can spend this on other things. We don't have to spend this on military because, and I'm going to be meeting with China. You know, we were trying to de-escalate nuclear, and I was in a position where Russia had agreed and China had agreed we were going to start, and then we had a rigged election, so that never took place.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is the latest world leader to visit the White House as he rekindles a strong bond with Trump. The two picked up where they left off, having gotten along well during Trump's first term. The U.S. is courting India as an ally in Asia. The pair agreed to work together on defense and trade, as well as the fight against Islamic terrorism. Modi regularly praises Trump and borrows ideas from him. India's Prime Minister says he wants to make India great again, or MIGA, a play on the Trump's MEGA, or the Make America Great Again catchphrase. Meanwhile, U.S. President Trump said the deadline of forced sale or ban of the popular short video platform TikTok could be further extended. The app has returned to Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store after temporary removal.
I have 90 days from about 2 weeks ago, right? And I'm sure it can be extended. People have learned it's very popular, and we'll have to probably get approval from China to do it. I think China will be interested because it's to their benefit too. So I look forward to that.
Trump said he hopes to reach a deal with China in order to keep the app alive in America. The U.S. Congress has ordered TikTok's parent company ByteDance to divest its holdings by January 19th, citing national security concerns. An executive order signed by Trump upon his inauguration has enabled TikTok to continue operations until early April. Back locally, the Tobacco and Alcohol Control Office of the Department of Health carried inspections at bars to combat illegal shisha use in designated no-smoking zones. 3 people were fined on Thursday. Last night, officers issued fixed penalty notices to patrons caught smoking shisha illegally at a bar in Mongkok. The office is considering legal action against the bar owner. The office has referred the case to licensing authorities for follow-up work. Last year, the Tobacco and Alcohol Control Office carried out multiple operations against illegal shisha use. A total of 162 fixed penalty notices were handed out. 89 writs of summons were issued to staff and managers of bars and restaurants. Anyone caught smoking in a no-smoking zone, including shisha, can face fines of up to $1,500. Today is Valentine's Day. Many were at the flower market to buy blooms and bouquets as a floral gesture of love and appreciation to their loved ones. To many, roses are the quintessential floral embodiment of romance. taking center stage in this season of love and at the flower market in Mongkok. These roses are priced at $38 a piece, or around $700 for a bouquet of 19 blooms. The market bustling with husbands and boyfriends on a secret mission. This man said it's a surprise for his other half, and he hopes she will like it. This man bought more than 20 bouquets in one go. He said he's buying them for not just his wife, but also his other female family members, domestic helper, and his female colleagues. And the floral expression of love doesn't just come from husbands or men.
Pink for my mom and red for my boyfriend.
Okay, what messages do you want to bring to your mom and boyfriend?
I love you.
Because my dad's not in Hong Kong, so me and my brother are going to get it for my mom just to celebrate and not have her spend it alone. Yeah, I think Valentine's Day is a nice day to have everyone spread love and have a nice time together.
This Valentine's Day, many husbands and boyfriends are splurging between $400 and $700 on bouquets. For instance, one of the most popular choices is a bouquet of 11 roses. The vendors told us that 11 roses symbolize the unwavering devotion of one heart and one mind to their spouses. A florist said owing to the economic environment, customers this year don't spend as much, so even when the cost of their blooms are higher, the flowers are priced the same as last year. In Chile, a man was swallowed whole by a humpback whale and survived. Kayaker Adrian Simanca is filmed by his father on a small boat as the whale came up for air and took Adrian in his mouth. The 24-year-old disappeared from view but re-emerged moments later when the humpback appeared to spit him out. Adrian, disorientated, was told by his father Del to try to remain calm as he moved him away from the whale. Adrian was soon able to get out of the near-freezing water. Here is how Adrian looks 2 days on from his frightening ordeal. Adrian says he thought he was dead. Upon reflection, he thinks maybe the whale was just trying to be friendly. And that's the news. Have a great weekend ahead.